After I became disabled, my own kids stopped inviting me to family dinners. I still paid for the house for 12 years. So I quietly blocked their access to the accounts. When they came home to lock doors, well, let me tell you exactly what happened. My name is Dorothy Mitchell, and I'm 73 years old. Before we get into this, I'd love to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. It helps me know I'm not alone in this crazy world. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. It was March 2010 when my life changed forever. I was 61, working as a regional manager for a department store chain, living my best life. My husband Richard had passed 5 years earlier, but I'd built a good life for myself. I had my health, my independence, and my 2 children, Michael, 38, and Jennifer, 35. They both lived in the house Richard and I had bought in 1985, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in suburban Connecticut that we'd paid off years ago. The accident happened on a Tuesday morning, black ice on Route 7. My car spun out, hit a barrier, and in those 3 seconds, everything changed. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctors told me about the spinal injury. The words permanent disability and wheelchair kept floating through the fog of pain medication. Michael visited once. Jennifer came twice. They both said the same things. "We're here for you, Mom. We'll help with whatever you need. Family sticks together." I believed them. The rehabilitation was brutal. 3 months of physical therapy, learning to navigate a world that suddenly had too many stairs and not enough ramps. But I was determined. I learned to adapt, to be independent again. The insurance settlement was substantial, enough to modify the house with ramps, a stair lift, and an accessible bathroom, enough to live comfortably if I was careful. Here's what I didn't realize at the time. My children were already making plans. 2 months after I came home from rehab, Jennifer sat me down at the kitchen table. "Mom," she said, stirring her coffee without looking at me, "Greg and I have been thinking, with the kids getting bigger and your situation, maybe it would be better if you looked into one of those assisted living communities." I stared at her. "Assisted living? Jennifer, I'm 61 years old. I'm not dying. I'm disabled." "I know, Mom, but this house has so many stairs, and we're worried about you falling when we're not here." "You live here," I said slowly. "You're always here." She shifted uncomfortably. "Well, that's the thing. Greg got a promotion, and we're thinking about getting our own place. And Michael and Brenda are looking too. We can't stay here forever." Something cold settled in my stomach. "This is my house." "We know that, Mom, but you need to think practically. What if something happens? What if you fall and can't reach the phone?" I wanted to argue, to fight, but I was so tired. The pain medication made everything fuzzy, and I was still adjusting to this new reality. So I said what I thought they needed to hear. "Let me think about it." That conversation should have been my first warning sign, but I was too trusting, too naive. I actually believed my children had my best interests at heart. They didn't move out, not then. And foolishly, I felt relieved. Instead, something more insidious began. It started small, so small I almost didn't notice. Michael stopped coming to the kitchen when I rolled in. Jennifer would take phone calls in another room, lowering her voice when I approached. Their spouses, Greg and Brenda, barely acknowledged me anymore. Then came the Sunday dinners. For 20 years, Sunday dinner had been our family tradition. Even after Richard died, we kept it going. It was sacred. But now, in my own home, I started noticing the dining room door closed more often, hearing laughter and conversation that stopped when I opened it. The first time I wasn't invited, Jennifer claimed it was just a quick meal, nothing special. "We didn't want to bother you, Mom. You seem tired." I wasn't tired. I was right there in the living room. The second time, Michael said it was just him and Brenda grabbing takeout, but I'd seen them setting the table with the good china, my good china, and I'd smelled pot roast cooking for hours. By the 6th month, they stopped making excuses altogether. I'd wheel past the dining room and see my entire family, my children, their spouses, my 4 grandchildren, Gathered around the table I'd set thousands of meals on, laughing, talking, living, without me. "Can I join you?" I asked once, my hand on the doorframe. Jennifer looked up, and for just a second I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Irritation, maybe even disgust. "Mom, we're kind of in the middle of something. Maybe later?" There was no later. There never was. I started eating dinner alone in my bedroom, listening to my family bond over meals in my house, at my table, with my dishes. The isolation was crushing. I'd survived losing Richard, survived the accident, survived learning to live in a wheelchair, but I wasn't sure I could survive being treated like a ghost in my own home. But I still paid for everything, every single thing. You see, Richard had been smart with money. Between his life insurance, our savings, and my disability settlement, I was comfortable, very comfortable. And when the kids said they needed time to get on their feet, after the accident, I agreed to cover the household expenses, property taxes, utilities, maintenance, groceries, everything. "Just until we figure things out, Mom," Michael had said. "You know how expensive it is these days." I knew. I knew because I was writing the checks, every month, like clockwork. 1 year became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 12. 12 years of paying for a house where I was slowly being erased. 12 years of watching my children's families grow and thrive while treating me like I was already dead. 12 years of being excluded, ignored, and made to feel like a burden in the home I'd built. But I kept paying. I kept hoping things would change, that they'd remember I was their mother, that they'd remember I was still a person. I was wrong. The breaking point came on my 73rd birthday. I woke up that morning with a small flutter of hope in my chest. Birthdays had always been important in our family. Richard used to make a big deal out of them. Breakfast in bed, flowers, a special dinner. I wasn't expecting anything elaborate, but surely my children would acknowledge the day. I got dressed carefully, even put on the pearl necklace Richard had given me on our 30th anniversary. Made myself presentable. By noon, neither Michael nor Jennifer had come to see me. I could hear them both downstairs, their voices, their children's laughter. Life happening just beyond my reach. At 2 o'clock, I wheeled myself to the kitchen. Jennifer was there, loading the dishwasher. "Hi, sweetheart," I said, my voice deliberately cheerful. She glanced over her shoulder. "Oh, hey, Mom. Did you need something?" My throat tightened. No, just wanted to see what everyone's up to today." "Michael's watching the game, I think. I'm just cleaning up from lunch." She turned back to the dishes. I waited. Surely she'd remember. Surely. "Okay then," she said, closing the dishwasher. "I've got to run to Target. Need anything?" "No," I whispered. "Nothing." She left. Didn't say happy birthday. Didn't acknowledge that 73 years ago I'd come into this world, that I'd given her life, that I'd raised her, loved her, sacrificed for her. Nothing. That evening, I heard them ordering pizza. The doorbell rang. Voices gathered in the dining room, the door firmly closed. Through the walls, I heard the unmistakable sound of happy birthday being sung. For a moment, my heart leapt. They remembered after all. But as I wheeled toward the dining room, I heard my grandson Tyler's voice clearly. "Make a wish, Emma." Emma, my granddaughter. Her birthday was in 2 weeks. They were celebrating early because it was convenient. They were all gathered after all. Why not? And my birthday. The actual birthday happening that very day? Not worth mentioning. I sat in the hallway outside that closed door, listening to my family celebrate, and something inside me finally broke. Not shattered. That would be too dramatic. It just quietly cracked and fell away, like old paint peeling off a wall. I wheeled back to my bedroom and opened my laptop. It took me 3 hours to go through everything, but when I was finished, I had a complete picture of my financial situation. Every account, every payment, every cent I'd spent on this household for the past 12 years. The numbers were staggering. Property taxes alone were $46,000 a year. Utilities averaged $1,800 a month. Groceries, maintenance, insurance, repairs. It all added up to over $73,000 annually. For 12 years, nearly $900,000. I'd spent almost $1 million supporting a family that couldn't remember my birthday. That locked me out of Sunday dinners. That treated me like an inconvenient piece of furniture. That night, lying in bed, listening to the house settle around me, I made a decision. If they wanted to treat me like I didn't exist, I'd show them what my absence really meant. I spent the next 3 weeks planning. People think revenge is a hot emotion, something you do in anger. But the most effective revenge is ice cold. It requires patience, precision, and perfect timing. First, I documented everything. Every family dinner I was excluded from. I started keeping a log with dates and times. Every conversation where I was ignored. Every birthday, holiday, and special occasion where I was forgotten. I took photos of closed dining room doors. I saved the receipts from meals I ate alone while my family gathered without me. Then I reviewed my finances with a forensic accountant I hired discreetly. Gerald Hopkins came to my bedroom office, reviewed 12 years of bank statements, and gave me the breakdown I needed. "Mrs. Mitchell," he said, sliding his glasses down his nose, "you've paid $897,342.18 for this household since your accident. That includes property taxes, all utilities, homeowners insurance, maintenance, repairs, and an average of $1,200 monthly in groceries you haven't eaten." "Can you put that in a detailed report?" I asked. "Already done." He handed me a leather portfolio. "Everything's documented. Dates, amounts, categories. If you need this for legal purposes, it's ironclad." "Thank you, Gerald." Next, I called my attorney, Patricia Weinstein. We'd worked together on Richard's estate, and I trusted her completely. "Dorothy," she said, settling into the chair across from me, "talk to me about what's happening." I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. "Those ungrateful—" She stopped herself. "Sorry, professional demeanor. But Dorothy, what they're doing is elder abuse. Financial exploitation at minimum. I don't want to prosecute them," I said quickly. "They're still my children." Patricia's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Then what do you want?" "I want them to understand what they've taken for granted. I want my house back, and I want them to feel a fraction of what they've made me feel for 12 years. Tell me your plan." I laid it out for her. She made notes, asked questions, and by the end of the meeting, she was almost smiling. "It's legal," she confirmed. "Harsh, but legal. You own the house outright. They have no lease, no rental agreement, nothing in writing. They're living there at your discretion, which you can revoke at any time. And since you've been paying all expenses, they have no legal claim to tenancy rights." "What about grandparents' rights?" I asked. "Could they use the grandchildren against me?" "Connecticut doesn't grant grandparents' rights except in cases of divorce or death of a parent, neither of which applies here. Your grandchildren have both living parents. You're not interfering with an existing custody arrangement. You're simply reclaiming your property." I felt something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Power. "When do you want to do this?" Patricia asked. I thought about it. Timing would be everything. It needed to hurt. It needed to make a point. And it needed to be public enough that they couldn't pretend it didn't happen. "Thanksgiving," I said. "I want to do it Thanksgiving weekend." Patricia raised her eyebrows. "That's certainly a statement." "They made me invisible," I said quietly. "Time to make them see me again." The month leading up to Thanksgiving was the strangest of my life. I moved through the house like a ghost, but now I was a ghost with a purpose. Every slight, every exclusion, every moment of being treated like I didn't exist only strengthened my resolve. Michael brought his new boat over to show Greg. They spent an hour in the driveway laughing and planning fishing trips. Neither one mentioned that I'd written the check for the dock fees, $600 a month, charged to my account for the last 8 months. Jennifer redecorated the living room, my living room, without asking. New curtains, new throw pillows, a new coffee table. When I commented on it, she said, "Oh, Mom, You don't spend time in here anyway. I wanted it to feel fresh. The grandchildren grew more distant. Tyler, now 17, barely looked at me. Emma, 15, would leave a room when I entered. The younger two, Sophia and Jake, had learned from their parents and older siblings. I was furniture, scenery, nothing important. The Sunday dinners continued. Every single week, the dining room door closed. Every single week, I ate alone. But I was counting down now. Each exclusion was another nail in the coffin they were building for themselves. I started making my arrangements quietly. Patricia handled the legal paperwork, formal eviction notices prepared and ready. I contacted a locksmith and explained exactly what I needed and when. I moved my important documents and valuables to a safe deposit box. I set up automatic payments from a separate account for a small apartment I rented across town, a ground floor unit perfect for my wheelchair. Most importantly, I called my bank. Every account that my children had access to, joint checking, the household account, everything, I began the process of removing their authorization. It would take effect the Monday after Thanksgiving. I also documented one final thing. I asked them to join me for Thanksgiving dinner. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. "Mom, we usually do Thanksgiving in the dining room, with everyone." "I know," I said. "I'm asking if I can be included this year." She glanced at Michael, who was standing in the doorway. He shifted his weight, not meeting my eyes. "The thing is, Mom, we have a whole tradition now. The kids expect things a certain way. Having the table in a different configuration might be—" "I'm not asking you to change anything," I interrupted. "I'm asking if your mother can eat Thanksgiving dinner with her family, in her own house." The silence was deafening. "We'll think about it," Michael finally said. They never got back to me. On Thanksgiving morning, I smelled the turkey cooking at 6 a.m., heard Jennifer and Brenda in the kitchen, laughing and chatting, heard my grandchildren arriving, excited voices filling the house. No one came to get me. At 2 o'clock, I wheeled past the dining room. Through the gap in the door, I saw them all gathered, holding hands for grace. Michael at the head of the table, the head of my table, saying a prayer about gratitude and family and blessings. I went back to my room, ate a sandwich, and made my final phone calls. Everything was set for Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, the day I became visible again. Friday morning dawned cold and clear. I was awake at 5 a.m., adrenaline singing through my veins. At 6:30, I called the locksmith. "Mrs. Mitchell, we're on our way. Should be there by 8. "Perfect. They usually leave around 9 for Black Friday shopping. We'll be done before then." At 7, I transferred all my essential belongings into my van. Clothes, medications, laptop, important papers, photographs, everything that mattered. The movers were coming later for the furniture pieces that were actually mine, the things Richard and I had bought together. But that could wait. Today was about the message. At 7:45, I heard the familiar chaos of my family preparing to leave. Jennifer shouting about doorbuster sales, the grandchildren arguing about which stores to hit first, Michael saying something about parking strategies. I stayed in my room, door closed, listening to them move through the house like they owned it, because they thought they did. At 8:15, my phone buzzed. The locksmith. "We're here." "Come to the side door," I texted back. "I'll let you in." 20 minutes later, the last of them left. I watched from my window as 4 cars pulled out of the driveway, my driveway. Michael's SUV, Jennifer's minivan, Greg's truck, Brenda's sedan. All of them bought with money they'd saved by not paying rent or utilities or property taxes for 12 years. I met the locksmith crew at the front door. Every exterior door, I confirmed. Front, back, side, garage. And I want the security system code changed. "You got it, Mrs. Mitchell." While they worked, I went through the house methodically. In Michael's room, I found the file where they kept the household account checkbook, my household account. In Jennifer's desk, I found a folder labeled Mom's Expenses, with a detailed breakdown of how much they'd saved over the years. They'd actually been tracking it, celebrating it. The locksmith finished at 10:30. "All set. Here are your new keys, 6 copies like you requested." "Thank you." I paid him in cash, added a generous tip. You've been very professional. Ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've changed locks for divorces, evictions, all kinds of situations. But I've never seen someone as calm as you. I smiled. I've had 12 years to prepare for this moment. After he left, I went to each door and tested the new locks. Solid. Secure. Then I changed the security system code from Richard's birthday, which everyone knew, to the date of my accident. The date everything changed. Finally, I logged into my bank account and executed the changes I'd prepared. One by one, I removed Michael and Jennifer's access from every account. Joint checking. Closed. Household account. Their names deleted. Credit cards I'd added them to for emergencies. Canceled. I watched the confirmations pop up on my screen, each one a small victory. The house was silent around me. Truly mine for the first time in 12 years. I made myself a cup of tea, wheeled to the front window, and waited. They'd be home soon, and they were in for quite a surprise. They came back at 2:30. I heard the cars first, pulling into the driveway with that familiar casual confidence. Doors slamming, shopping bags rustling, Tyler complaining about the crowds, Emma laughing at something on her phone. Michael reached the front door first. I heard his key slide into the lock. Turn. Stop. He tried again. I could picture his face, confused, but not yet concerned. That's weird, he called out. My key's not working. Let me try mine, Jennifer's voice. Another key, another failed attempt. Maybe the lock's frozen, Greg suggested. It's 45 degrees out, Brenda said. Locks don't freeze at 45 degrees. They tried the side door, the back door. I heard them rattling the garage door, testing windows, their voices getting louder, more frantic. Michael called my phone. I let it ring. He called again and again. Finally, I answered. Yes? Mom, we're locked out. Something's wrong with the locks. Nothing's wrong with the locks, Michael. They work perfectly fine. You just don't have keys that fit them anymore. Silence. Then, what? I changed the locks. This is my house. I'm revoking your permission to live here. Mom, what are you talking about? Is this some kind of joke? Do I sound like I'm joking? My voice was steady, calm. Come around to the front porch. All of you. I'll meet you at the door, but I won't be opening it. I hung up. 3 minutes later, they were all gathered on my front porch. 8 people loaded with shopping bags, staring at my door like it had betrayed them. I wheeled up to the window beside the door where they could see me clearly. Mom, open this door right now, Michael demanded. This is insane. No. What do you mean, no? Jennifer's voice cracked. Mom, we live here. You've been living here, I corrected, at my discretion, which I'm withdrawing. You can't do this. Greg stepped forward. We have rights. This is our home. Actually, you don't. No rights at all. I checked with my attorney very carefully. You have no lease, no rental agreement, nothing in writing. You've been living in my house, rent-free, for 12 years, and now you're not. If you've been following this story and feeling what I felt all these years, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is something you won't want to miss. Brenda started crying. Dorothy, please, think about the children. Where are we supposed to go? That's an excellent question. I've been wondering the same thing for 12 years while you excluded me from Sunday dinners in my own dining room, while you celebrated Thanksgiving without me yesterday, while you forgot my birthday, while you treated me like I was already dead. That's not fair, Jennifer shouted. We've been taking care of this house. With my money! My voice cut through hers like ice. With money I've been paying for 12 years. $897 and $342.18 to be exact. The number hung in the air like a bomb. I watched their faces change as they did the math. Michael's jaw went slack. Jennifer turned pale. That's not possible, Michael stammered. It's not only possible, it's documented. I held up the leather portfolio Gerald had prepared. Every payment, every bill, every expense. 12 years of financial records showing that I've paid for literally everything, while you all lived here and treated me like I was invisible. We didn't treat you, Jennifer started. Don't. My voice was sharp. Don't you dare lie to me right now. I have a log, dates, times, photos, 87 Sunday dinners I was excluded from, 23 holidays, 12 birthdays you forgot. Do you want to see it? Because my attorney has copies of everything. Your attorney? Greg's face flushed red. You're threatening us with lawyers? Over hurt feelings? Over elder abuse, I said flatly. Financial exploitation. That's what Patricia called it. She wanted to prosecute. I said no, because despite everything, you're still my children, but I am done being used. Tyler spoke up, his voice uncertain. Grandma, where are we supposed to go? My heart squeezed. The grandchildren. They were innocent in this, but I'd learned the hard way that sometimes collateral damage is unavoidable. Tyler, I'm sorry, truly, but that's a question for your parents. The parents who have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by not paying rent, utilities, or property taxes for over a decade. I imagine they can afford to find somewhere to live. We can't afford, first and last, month's rent plus security deposits for 2 families. Michael exploded. Not on short notice like this. Then you'll figure it out. Like I had to figure out how to live with a disability while you all carried on without me. Like I had to figure out how to eat dinner alone while listening to my family laugh in the next room. This is revenge, Jennifer said coldly. Pure revenge. You're absolutely right, I agreed. It is. And you know what? It feels good. For the first time in 12 years, I feel like I matter. Like I exist. Like I'm more than just a checkbook you ignore until you need something. Brenda tried a different approach. Dorothy, please. Let's talk about this rationally. Come out here, and we'll work something out. No, I'm done talking. I'm done being rational while you're irrational. I'm done being the understanding mother who keeps giving while you keep taking. I tapped the window. You have until Monday morning to remove your personal belongings. After that, anything left in the house will be disposed of. Monday? Michael's voice pitched high. That's 2 days. You've had 12 years. I think 2 days is generous. What about our mail? Our official documents? Forward your mail. You should have done that 12 years ago anyway, since this was never your permanent address. As for documents, you have until Monday to get them. I can't believe you're doing this, Jennifer said, tears streaming down her face. We're your children. Then act like it, I said quietly. You made me feel like I died in that accident. You mourned me while I was still alive. Mom, please. Michael pressed his palm against the window. Don't do this. We can fix this. We can make things right. No, Michael, you can't. Do you know what you'd have to do to make this right? You'd have to give me back 12 years. You'd have to undo every Sunday dinner where you locked me out, every birthday you forgot, every time you looked through me like I wasn't there. My voice cracked slightly, the first emotion I'd allowed to show. You can't give me back the time you stole, the dignity you took, the mother you erased. We made mistakes, Jennifer said desperately, but this is extreme. This is cruel. Cruel? I felt something hot flash through me. Let me tell you what's cruel. Cruel is listening to your grandchildren laugh in the next room and knowing they've been taught not to include you. Cruel is paying for a house where you're treated like you're already in the grave. Cruel is watching your own children discuss your life like you're not sitting right there. We never meant, Brenda began. You never thought, I interrupted. That's the problem. You never thought about me at all. I was just, what? Convenient? A free house, free utilities, free everything while you built your lives and pushed me further and further to the margins? I took a breath, steadying myself. I also closed the joint bank account this morning. Changed the household account to my name only. Canceled the credit cards I'd added you to. As of Monday, all automatic payments stop. If you have bills set to auto pay from those accounts, I suggest you update them this weekend. Michael's face went from pale to red. You're cutting us off completely? I'm stopping my financial support of people who don't support me. There's a difference. What about the grandchildren? Jennifer tried again. Sophia's in dance classes. Jake needs his orthodontist appointments. You're going to punish them too? The manipulation was so transparent it was almost insulting. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply no longer paying for things that aren't my responsibility. Those children have 2 parents each, 4 working adults. Between you should be able to cover dance classes and braces. We have other expenses, Greg shouted. Car payments, student loans, credit cards. Not my problem, I said simply. Those are your debts, your choices, your responsibility. Tyler looked at me through the window, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. He was really seeing me. Not through me, not past me, but actually seeing me. Grandma, he said quietly, were we really that bad to you? The question nearly broke me. Yes, Tyler, you were. All of you. And the worst part is that you didn't even notice. Emma started crying. Sophia was already sobbing. Jake looked confused, his 8-year-old brain trying to process what was happening. You have until 5 p.m. on Monday, I said firmly. Patricia will be here at 5:01 to document anything left behind. After that, it's legally considered abandoned property, and I can dispose of it however I see fit. This isn't over, Michael said, his voice hard. We'll fight this. We'll get lawyers. Go ahead, I said. Patricia's already prepared for that. And Michael, good luck finding one who'll take your case when they hear the details. I watched them stand on my porch for another 10 minutes, arguing among themselves, blame flying in every direction. Michael yelling at Jennifer for not seeing this coming, Jennifer screaming back that this was his fault for taking Mom for granted, the spouses jumping in, the grandchildren crying. Finally, they left. They had to. There was nowhere else to go but a hotel, and the reality of that expense was probably just starting to sink in. I spent that weekend in perfect peace. My house, my space. No closed doors, no whispered conversations that stopped when I entered a room, no smell of dinners I wasn't invited to share. On Saturday morning, I went room by room with my phone, documenting everything. Photos of Michael's belongings in the master bedroom, the room that should have been mine but that I'd given up because the modified bedroom downstairs was more accessible. Photos of Jennifer's craft supplies taking over the den, the grandchildren's toys scattered everywhere. They came back. Sunday morning with boxes and anger. I stayed in my room with the door locked while they loaded their cars. I heard things breaking, heard Michael punch a wall, heard Jennifer sobbing. I didn't care. Monday at 4:30, most of the obvious items were gone. But they'd left plenty behind. Furniture they couldn't fit in their temporary lodgings, boxes of holiday decorations, racks of clothes in the closets. At 5 p.m., Patricia arrived with her assistant and a photographer. Dorothy, she said, giving me a hug. How are you holding up? Better than I have in 12 years. We documented everything they'd left behind. Patricia's assistant made detailed notes. The photographer captured it all. By 6 p.m., we had an ironclad record. What do you want to do with it all? Patricia asked. Donate what's usable, trash the rest. I want this house empty and mine again. She nodded. I'll arrange it. My children tried to reconcile 3 weeks later. Jennifer called, crying, saying they'd made a mistake. Michael showed up at the door with flowers. They sent the grandchildren with letters they'd clearly been coached to write. I listened. I read the letters. I even let Michael in for coffee. But I didn't let them move back in. I didn't restore their account access. I didn't resume paying their bills. You taught me something valuable, I told Michael that day. You taught me that being someone's mother doesn't guarantee their respect. That has to be earned. And you've shown me for 12 years that you don't respect me. Maybe one day we can rebuild something. But it won't be the same, and it won't be with me supporting you financially while you erase me emotionally. That was 6 months ago. I still live in my house. Now truly alone but not lonely. I've joined a book club, started volunteering at the library, made friends who actually want to spend time with me. My children and I have dinner once a month at a restaurant. Neutral ground. They're learning to treat me like a person again, but it's slow. The grandchildren are starting to open up. I got my justice. Not revenge, justice. There's a difference. And that locked door? It finally made them see what they'd been shutting out all along.